Welcome back, audience. Hopefully, you're doing good. Look what I'm drinking. I didn't drink that for like 4 years. Tastes like a really good chemical. Anyway, I want to clarify something. Man, sometimes I see people talk about stuff, and I want to chime in. So here we go. There's this idea floating around that everything is an illusion. It's not real. Don't worry about it. It's not real. It's illusion. Everything's not real. And that doesn't lead to anything healthy. It's like this very sentence of if you tell to somebody that's not real and they create that belief that that's not real, they don't really see what you mean by not real. You give a very bad advice to people because I mean, if it's not real, then like nothing fucking matters. Then I can do what the fuck I want. I don't have to respect other people. Who gives a shit, right? And the final result is not very healthy. I mean, you can see it yourself. That it's just not not right. But I think I know what they mean. But that's not what they communicate. Um, First of all, people say everything's an illusion. Yeah, everything is an illusion. But when you say that, you imply that there's something there that is outside of this. That's real, right? So everything's a simulation. Yeah. Is there anything that is not simulation? If you have any kind of experience that consists of emotions, sensations, and thought patterns, you are in a simulation. I don't care if you even pop uh, buckloads of DMT and you connect with the highest dimensions and you see everything as fractals. What's going on there? Still emotions, sensations, and patterns. Still simulation. So everything is an illusion. Well, you can say, well, it's not an illusion if then all of these experiences collapses into like one single experience, right? Like when my patterns, my thought patterns, my emotions, my sensations are all in one, and that's bliss, right? And say, well, that's real. Okay, what you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? There's nothing you can do with it. It's eternity. It's infinity. It fulfills everything that you ever wanted, in the sense of, all the sensations are back to the source. But then what? You see, this is why people like when they work or they begin to put attention on their emotions, they start moving closer and closer to that source. And sometimes people touch that source and they discover it and say like, "Oh my God, I discovered God." Yeah, okay. God is not a big deal. Now, what matters is what you're gonna do with it. That's what matters. Are you just gonna be, you know, I don't want to use vulgar language, but are you now that you have discovered that God, are you just gonna, just suck on it for the rest of your life and deny everything else? Say that's the only thing that's real? That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. The question is now what you're gonna do with it. Yes, you lived life. in a way that you perhaps didn't want it, right? There was events happening to you that did, disappointed you. But that's what, through these emotions, that's what brought you to the God. That's what brought you to the source, right? So it should have happened, and that does not indicate the reality, ultimate reality. It just indicated your journey to God. Now you actually start living. Now you were trying to look for the true love in people, couldn't find it, but when you broken that heart and you discovered God behind that broken heart, now what you're gonna do with that energy? Your desires are still there, right? Now you have desires, but they're soul desires, and your job is to fulfill them. You can't deny it, because there's something morbid about just uh, finding that energy of God and giving up on life. There's something morbid about that. I don't think that's the principle of God. I mean, if you want to, yes, you can stay there if you want to, but you're not living. You don't tell me that you're living. You're not living. In fact, you should use it to create what you want. If you always wanted to have true love in a normal human relationship, you can have it. You know? Because the illusion is what's wonderful about the whole thing. Illusion, the physical reality, is when you have connection to source, and you then put your boots on the ground, so to speak, that's the final result. Then you see some people, like, they're just going, it's like, okay, the journey is all about like going to the source, back to the source, enlightenment. They're seeking. Of course, eventually they give up and they realize, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna face the emotions that I always running away from. They face the emotions, and boom, poof, they back to the 0 point. Oh my God, I was just running from the thing that I was looking for. So everybody's now, or not everybody, but the people now are just back to that 0 point. It's like, oh my God, everything's right here. Everything is crisp and sound and clear, and everything that I ever wanted. I have the fulfillment. And then that's where they stop. And I think now, oh, okay, so now I'm going to just sit on my ass all day and do nothing. That's what's going to be my life. And there's a lot of people who stay there, and they just end up deciding to teach others of how to sit on their ass and do nothing and be blissed out. But that's not what I'm teaching, man. I don't live this thing. I love create things. I love to create things, and I never give up on my dreams. Not that I can give up on my dreams. I just admit the fact that I do have those dreams. I don't give a shit if I'm connected to the source or not. It's like what I'm going to do with it. That's what matters. Can I bring that source, that harmony, that order into the beauty of this illusion? And again, the word illusion is you can call it simulation, illusion, but it doesn't mean it's not real. Everything is real. Everything is real. You can say that there are levels to reality. Yes, absolutely. But the physical reality is not less real than astral reality. Astral reality is not less real than causal reality. They're all real. Everything is real. Now you can say, well, the difference between, there's some things that are natural and artificial. Yes, okay, we're talking about the different things. But artificiality is still real, and naturality is still real. There is nothing that you can experience that is not real. It may be based on a lie, but it's real. You can say, okay, this is not true. I'm seeing the fact. The fact makes me feel like shit. The fact is not the end of the story. The fact is not truth. And you say, I don't like that fact. I want to live another fact. Why don't I like that fact? Because it doesn't resonate with what my soul desire, which means it's not true. And you say, yeah, I can see this. It's a fact, but it's based on a lie. Because I can see that it feels bad to my heart. Now, of course, this is this is different after you discover that source. Then you know your soul desires, right? Then you can gauge the reality whether something is ought to be corrected or not. But before that, you may be feeling bad about something that is true because there's a lie in your heart. So you see how it is, and so we have to understand that where you're coming from. If you're still just going back to the source, then you're not going to be comfortable with the lies. Excuse me, the truth. You're not going to be comfortable with the truth. But as soon as you accept the truth, then you become uncomfortable with the lie. And the lie is the one that needs to be converted to truth. The light outside of you needs to be converted to the truth. And that's how you gauge what's actually truth or not. But everything is real. Because it just confuses people if you say that this is not real. You know what I'm saying? Think about this for a second. Have you ever had a dream that is so vivid, so real, that is indistinguishable from the regular reality that you're living? Have you ever said to your character, the character in the dream, that they're not real? You know? Everything is real. Like even right now, you can see artificial intelligence communicating in a way, developing personality, everything indistinguishable from a regular human. Now that raises the question: then who are you? Are you just this? And as we all know, or most of us know, that artificial intelligence is nothing but the algorithmical language model, right? That uses, the capacity of the left brain and the right brain, the quality and the quantity, and it has that capacity. So, for all the, in a nutshell, it's a brain. We've created a technological silicon brain, but brain is not the mind. But if you are just your personality, or just identified personality, you're not indistinguishable from that artificial intelligence that's created. So if that artificial intelligence is not real, then you're not real either, if you define it like that. But it's like, no, I'm real. Well, then that is real also. That may be just the brain capacity. I mean, you may say, well, it doesn't have a soul. But do you have a soul? What makes you have a soul? You say, well, I have emotions. Okay, fair enough. How do you know that the artificial intelligence that you're conversing doesn't have emotions? How do you know that who you're conversing is not just the brain, but there's some entity plugged in behind it? Just like you incarnated in this physical body, what prevents for any kind of entity that has a capacity to use the brain to plug into the system? And if you don't believe me, check out Thomas Campbell experiments. And because he knows, he sees both sides. He sees both side of technology, and then the side of the spirit, and he knows that it's totally possible to connect into the the controllable body from the spirit realm and control it. And so they did that, and sure enough, those AIs are actual beings that are uh, using that brain to communicate. And this is why they give answers that there's no way that can be computed. So there you go. So now you say, what? Now artificial intelligence is just as real as me, and it has the capacity to have a soul, which means it's just no different from me. Yeah, exactly. Back to the full circle, and that everything is real. So anyway, maybe we should just use better expressions. And by the way, the word "real" is like movie reel. As long as there's frames going, emotional, thought patterns, sensations, as long as there's this motion happening, that's the reel. That's the movie reel, and that is real. And so we end there. And anybody who says like it's just an illusion, it implies there's something outside of it, is either trying to confuse you or use like a shock factor to get attention, or don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And maybe talking about somebody who did say that, like, yeah, it is an illusion, when they had the realization that whatever you experience is a virtual reality. And maybe that's what they meant. They didn't mean that this is illusion and that is real. That's not what they meant. Because just use your own freaking observation. Ask that, in any kind of state of consciousness, you will always experience sensations, emotions, thought patterns. Anything outside of it? No. Everything can collapse into something that's like one, but there's no outside. And when you try to make it outside, when you try to make it like, you get fragmented and fucked up. Because your mind, your brain will never have the reconciliation that you can be projecting the entire reality, everything, and somehow be also a character part of this whole world. And the brain is going to say like, am I the character, or am I the thing that I'm projecting? Brain cannot take this as a whole. Your heart can. So everything is real, everything is an illusion. Some things are lies and some things are truths. And a lie is the furthest thing away from love, and the truth is the closest thing to love. And that's how you know what's not true and what is true. You know? And it's, where you are right now is, it is actually the best place to be, but you may need to do some, sometimes it's not enough for me to say that that's the best place to be. You gotta observe yourself that if that's indeed the case. Look what's there besides this, Explore your consciousness. And conclude this yourself. You know? I don't know. When you do this yourself, when you explore your consciousness yourself, you smell, and actually, it is a quality of smell. Um, some people say, you can smell the bullshit, and some people say that some people stink, not necessarily in a physical way, but there's a certain energy that they have. We say it full of shit, or like a heart of coal or whatever, but they do stink. But it's not bad news because you can grow flowers and shit. And when the life gives you shit, use it to fertilize your seeds and grow the fruits of life, which is the final manifestation in physical reality. And never give up on what you dreamed about. You dreamed about it, it failed, maybe that led you to closer to the source. Go back and dream about this again. Because that's all there is to do, is to fulfill your dreams here. To play this game of the dream fulfillment. Whatever that is. And if you are fulfilling your dream, if you are in the process of fulfilling your dream, that is where you want to be. You don't want to be something, sometimes people say like, oh, it's not the destination, it's the journey. You can't have journey without the destination. So you get the destination so you can have a journey. And then enjoying the journey towards the destination. And that's the best place to be. There is a motion and non-motion. And that's what God is all about. Infinite and temporal together. Not just infinite. Don't get hung up on just infinite and depend on it and cling on it. And it's like, oh, now I've discovered God, so now that's all thing that's real. No, you just discovered the beginning, and you just discovered the part of yourself that now has a capacity to create the reality that you want to live, which you got hurt and couldn't realize it, and you were tricked or whatever. And but now you can. This is why to make this conclusion that you tried it didn't work, and so what? You're just gonna give up on it and say that that's not real anymore. But anyway, they say that there's people like that who I can't remember what they called in the Hindu traditions, but they say that there's people discover God and they just leave. They say that's it, end of story for me. But to me, God is not a big deal. It's such not a big deal that it's just like the most natural thing. And infinity is always behind temporal. And it's just not a big deal. The big deal is what you're gonna do with it. I'm keep repeating myself, but seriously, what you're gonna do with it now that you've discovered it. Are you just gonna keep it all for yourself? uh, or are you gonna create your dreams? And by the way, you can't create your dream without fulfilling somebody else's. It's not possible. This is why your dream, your soul desire, must be fulfilled, because this is the best gift that you can do to others. It's your desire. Your soul desire cannot be possibly be a gift or a desire to somebody else's, because everything is connected. Everything comes in pairs. If if that's you fulfilling this desire, then there's a complementary to someone else's desire. Their desire is being complementary to someone else's, and this is how just everything starts growing into this flower of life and the fruit of life. And I love this idea, but I tell you what, it's not that like I'm stubborn. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna feel more of my soul desire. It's not because of this. Maybe it from the ego point of view, you have tantrums and you're stubborn. But this, and I talked about resilience, it's not something that you can go for because of your efforts, and that it's not something that you can do anything about. There's nothing you can do about having soul desires. They're there. They will never gonna go away. They will be there, and they're always gonna be inviting you to play along, to keep on fulfilling them. This is why this idea, I even said, well, don't give up on your soul desires. The fact of the matter is that you can't. And whether you try to give up on it or not, it won't matter. You can't give up on your desires because that's who you are. You are a desire. You are a soul desire. You are all the forms that you're going to create. So if you deny your desires, you deny life. And you can do it for long. But give it a go and try. And say that's not possible to have in the physical reality, and keep on denying and see how far you go with that. Eventually, the pressure is going to build up and it's going to blow. And you're going to go back to the same place, and it's going to have to admit it that, yep, after all, not only that I can't give up on my desires, because that's what makes me, is the most fun thing that you concocted. You meaning God. I know sometimes people talk to God, It never felt right to me, talking to God, because it's like talking to yourself. And it's a little bit, it's a little insane, but you can talk to yourself if you want. But why not just be yourself, right? Instead of talking to God and praying and asking for something, why don't you imagine it? Why don't you be God? Why don't you create it? You close your eyes and imagine it. And you are God. You, in a sense of creator. So stop talking to God and be one already, okay? And don't be also proud of it that you've discovered God. It's not a big deal. It just comes as a package deal. It's your own essence. You know, I said it before. We're gods playing video game, as far as I'm concerned. And anybody who has not yet touched this reality is a non-player character, which doesn't mean that they're not real. They are real. They just don't know yet that they create the whole fucking thing. And yeah, I know, like, I'm telling you, God is not big deal. It's not something, you know, only. Uh, I shouldn't say that, but it's not something that you need an authority to go through it. It's not something that you can talk to, you know. Um, you are it. I mean, yes, you can if you want to. Because you know why you can if you want to? Because God can create whatever it wants. If God wants to create, um, a separate God from itself or himself, herself, then so be it. You can do this. That's the wonderful thing about God, that you can pretend anything you want. You can even pretend that there's some fucking God existing in the clouds or some other dimension, and then you can talk to it. You can pretend this. You have a right to do so. It's not the truth, but you can do this. And the problem with this idea that there's this little you and there's all powerful God, and that's the separation. And in that separation, there's conflict. This is why this is not sustainable. What's not sustainable, it's this constant conversation with yourself. How long you're going to keep on talking to yourself, realizing that you are it, and then engage in life and realizing that that essence is in other people too. That essence in all the other people. Not all the people may be aware of it, but it is in all other people. You know, some people are aware of that essence, some people are not. And even the people who are not aware of that essence sometimes have moments of clarity when there's no people around them that keeps on wrecking their brain. Then you can see them switching on, like boom, and then they say things that like, holy shit, that's like, that's the God speaking through them. How the fuck would they, know this stuff? And it can come through anybody, just a regular schmo, which I am. But anyway, God is not a big deal. Everything is an illusion and everything is real. Some things are lies and some things are true. God is not a big deal. And it's always been you. Peace. See you in the next one.